Today on Voices for Change, World Cup fever takes over. The impact of the U.S. women's soccer team that goes far beyond the pitch.
It means so much to the little girls who are growing up right here in the Bay Area that want to be professional soccer players, coaches, front office members, broadcasters.
Plus a golden opportunity for kids with disabilities, how the Cal Golden Bears are getting them in the game.
If we can help that community feel more inclusive and everybody can find one community that they can help bring along and be more included, we'll make this world a better place.
And finding purpose in competition, the unique sport giving athletes something they thought they lost.
This sport came along and found me. I was like, wow, I'm back. This is awesome. It gave me a purpose.
Welcome to Voices for Change. I'm Greg Lee. We created this show to give a megaphone to the marginalized, to put a spotlight on those working for a more diverse and inclusive future. Today, we dive into the sports world and a look at some of the incredible advocacy by athletes. Of course, World Cup fever has taken over. All eyes on the defending champion U.S. squad looking to defend their title from 4 years ago in France. In fact, the Stars and Stripes trying to become the first team ever to three-peat at the World Cup. But this is about much more than sports. The women on the field inspiring a new generation of athletes and continuing a fight for equity. I spoke to sports broadcaster and soccer expert Kylan Mills.
The World Cup is already breaking ticket sale records, massive viewership on television. What does it mean to you to see the continued growth of women's soccer?
It's incredible to see the continued growth of women's soccer. Just to see the game expanding the way it is so much fun to watch. And it means so much as a woman who grew up playing. I was someone who grew up looking up to the women playing for the women's national team. I had that poster hanging over my bed for years and years and years. I dreamed of being those women. And now to see, that legacy being carried on, it means so much. It means so much to the little girls who are growing up right here in the Bay Area that want to be professional soccer players, coaches, front office members, broadcasters. Now we're seeing it not just on the pitch, but all across the game of soccer. Women are starting to be elevated into these leadership positions. And it means so much just in terms of passing down that legacy to future generations. Little girls growing up now see these women exceeding in these positions, and they know, hey, I can be there one day too. So it just means a lot for me to get to watch it, knowing that I was one of those people at one point, one of those young people who looked up to these women in the game. And now just to see them continuing to excel, like I said, not just on the field either, the growth of the game, incredible, but we need more women in front offices. We need more women in leadership positions. We need more women in broadcasting, calling these games, which has been fun to watch in the World Cup. Kate Scott, Danielle Slayton, two local broadcasters from the Bay Area who've been on the call for some of these World Cup games. So that's also a really cool thing to watch as well, to know that there's young girls seeing that and saying, hey, I can do that too.
Kylan, the U.S. team fought for years for equal pay, but the FIFA purse for the World Cup champion is far behind the men's purse. So what does that tell you about the work that still needs to be done in this space?
There certainly is work to be done when it comes to equality and equity in soccer and in sports just beyond the pitch. But this U.S. women's national team, first, I want to say, has been instrumental in starting to get there. They just implemented a brand new deal with U.S. Soccer to where they are now going to be getting more equal pay with the men. And that's something they fought really hard for. Also continuing to fight for equal conditions. And that's been a big point of contention, once again, not just in soccer, but even in sports beyond soccer. It's something we talked about with the NCAA tournament, with women's basketball comparing to men's basketball, and some of the clips that went viral just in terms of the differences of the facilities that were available to women. But it certainly applies in soccer as well.
We see the growth of the NWSL, which you are a part of, other women's sports leagues. Where do women's sports go from here?
It's a great question. I think first is continuing to expand the NWSL with adding different markets like Bay FC now coming to the Bay Area. This is a move that is long overdue. The Bay Area is such a hotbed for soccer. Some of the best collegiate teams in the country are here. In Santa Clara, Stanford have won national championships in the last 5-6 years, in addition to Cal being a highly competitive program. So in addition to that strong youth scene that I mentioned, long overdue to have the NWSL come here to the Bay Area. So there needs to be continued continued expansion in terms of more markets. Let's bring these professional women, these role models, into more cities, into more backyards for these young girls, to where they can go to those games down the street or within driving distance of their homes, and they can access these players. They can see them in real time and say, hey, this can be me. I can look up to these people. These are people in my community that I can connect with. It's been so fun to see as well some of these men's athletes coming forward and starting to invest. And that's a huge part of it. Men have to also be allies and have to be willing to not only, show their support in terms of saying it and in action, but putting their money where their mouth is and also supporting women athletes. So I know Andre Iguodala has been someone who's been involved in Bay FC and who's going to be a part of that. So things like that are also really exciting to see, but we need more of it.
Our conversation about the Women's World Cup continues later in this show. More on Team USA's focus on mental health for athletes of all ages.
I'm teaming up with Common Goal and talking about mental health because the more we talk about it, the more people who are struggling realize that it's okay.
We'll talk about the efforts to fight stigmas for athletes and show you how some players are honoring one of their former teammates. History made on the Monterey Peninsula this month. For the first time ever, the U.S. Women's Open was held at the iconic Pebble Beach. Allison Corpuz shot a final round 69 to win the major tournament at 9 under par. The 25-year-old from Hawaii 3 shots ahead of second place. Not only was she the winner of the first U.S. Women's Open at the picturesque Monterey course, she took home $2 million. That's the highest prize ever for an LPGA major championship. The venue and the purse certainly will leave an indelible mark on the history of golf. These firsts mark long overdue progress in the game. It's a welcome scene for trailblazers like women's golf legend and Hall of Famer Amy Alcott. She spoke to me about what this moment means for her and the sport.
You first played Pebble Beach as an amateur. You have won the Women's U.S. Open. What did it mean to you to be there, to see the major played at Pebble for the first time?
Well, my mother used to drive me up in a beat up Pontiac when I was a junior and drive up the coast and play in the California State Girls Championship and the Amateur Championship, which I won in 1973. And at the same time, that same week, set a course record at Pebble Beach in the qualifying round. And at the time, I beat Babe Zaharias's record of 70. I shot 69. So Pebble Beach has always had a special feeling for me, not only being a Californian, but just for the, it's like golf on steroids. It's just a fabulous place. All of those courses are. So it was really great to be up there to finally see a Women's Open hosted there. And that's responsible for the times we're living in, and I think the people at Pebble Beach Company, and I think the USGA seeing the vision of that.
You have had a prolific career. You're in the Hall of Fame, and you're certainly a trailblazer. So what does it mean for you to see how far women's professional golf has come?
Well, a guy was interviewing me up there, and he kept asking me 4 or 5 times, when I won the U.S. Open, how much was my winning check? And that was in 1980 in Nashville, Tennessee. And I said, Josh, I can't specifically remember, but I think it was in the range of about $50,000. And now this week this young Allison Corpuz won $2 million. So it's definitely getting better. Definitely is getting everyone's attention.
And while it's getting better, certainly there's a lot of work to be done to reach true gender equity, Amy. So what would you say needs to be done?
This has been like golf. It is a journey and not a destination. And the last 5 or 6 years have been remarkable for the LPGA Tour in the fact that is really gone global. Back when I turned pro and played in my early years, it's been the Japanese players came over, Chako Higuchi, Ayako Okamoto. It's been a progression of a global nature, both in college golf, junior golf, and people sponsors putting their money into it, because now is really the time of women. And I tell other women athletes, I say, you can't go out anymore and keep complaining about it. You got to do something about it. And now is the time to really, with diversity, inclusion, really need to step forward and tell your story. But more important, it's about performance. When people see the great players on the LPGA Tour and in amateur golf, the quality of golf is amazing, and it's got to be visible, and it's got to be taken seriously, and it's just kind of one step at a time. But we're in a really good place right now. You have to just be yourself, and you have to try to leave the tour and leave the sports better, than you found it.
Just wanted to make football a place where everybody could experience what it's like to be on the field on Saturdays or Sundays.
Still to come, getting kids off the sidelines. We'll introduce you to the Cal football players who are working to make the gridiron accessible to everyone. Plus,
it's okay not to be okay, and that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to show that you're struggling.
more than a game, the U.S. soccer team focusing their message on mental health, their mission after the break.
I can talk about her in our memories and smile and be happy about it and know that she made such an impact, and we hope to, just kind of carry that on in everything we do.
Two former Stanford stars on the U.S. national team are dedicating their World Cup performance in memory of their former teammate Katie Meyer. Meyer was on the Stanford team that won the national championship in 2019. She died by suicide in 2022. Defender Naomi Girma wrote a reflection on Katie's impact that was published in the Players Tribune, calling her the truest friend I ever had. It didn't take long for Sophia Smith to honor Katie on the field after scoring her second goal against Vietnam. Cameras caught Smith's celebration for just a second. She zipped her lips and threw away the key. The same celebration Meyer did after she saved a penalty kick to help Stanford win the 2019 NCAA title. Smith told reporters that was for Katie. In honor of Meyer, the U.S. women's national team has launched a new mental health initiative they hope will save lives. They're working alongside Common Goal to bring mental health resources to programs in under-resourced communities across the U.S. I spoke to Common Goal's executive director, Lily Barrett O'Keefe.
Lily, thanks so much for taking the time. This partnership with the U.S. women's national team is so important. Tell me how it came about and what it means to you.
It's incredible to be partnered with the U.S. women's national team and to have players like Sophia Smith and Naomi Girma and Sofia Huerta leading such a powerful movement ahead of the World Cup. It's incredible to see these athletes use their platforms, not only across the U.S., but internationally. The partnership came about when Naomi Girma contacted us earlier this year and said that she wanted to make her first World Cup debut bigger than just on the field. And so she said, I want to go big and launch a mental health campaign that extends beyond just myself as a player or just our team and really ripples down into athletics at all levels, from the professional level, collegiate level to the youth level. And so she came with an idea and with immense passion and obviously a personal drive and a personal story, and we were able to bring it to life a few months later.
That's beautiful. Can you describe how Common Goal is really helping with this and how you're in communities all over the country with other organizations to provide these mental health services and put them first?
Exactly. So we have over 160 community organizations in 106 countries worldwide. Across the U.S., we have 32 community-based organizations. So these are organizations working in some of the most at-risk and underserved communities across the U.S., reaching over 100,000 young people. And all of them are using soccer as a tool, a hook, a medium, a catalyst for social change in some capacity. And what I think Common Goal does really uniquely is we sort of sit at the intersection of community-based work, also brands and athletes. So how can we work with brands like Fox Sports, the official English broadcaster of the World Cup, and athletes like Naomi Girma and our community-based organizations to create the most impactful and holistic approach to these societal challenges that we see today. And it's incredible to see brands like Fox Sports, they are pledging 1% of all of their World Cup airtime, which equals over 2 hours of World Cup time, to talking about mental health. So we need to have sort of everyone sitting at the table and engaging at this together. If we just had the athletes, or just had the grassroots organizations, or just had the brands, we wouldn't be able to create the meaningful change that we need to do. So if we have this lofty goal of prioritizing mental health, we need to ensure that everyone across sports is equally as engaged.
One of the quotes that I love is that vulnerability is strength. And how important is that message, not just for athletes, but for all of us, when sometimes there can be a stigma around mental health.
That is what is so special about this team, is they're able to go out, they're able to say they want to win, they want to compete, they want to be the best, they're confident that they are, and they're still able to say that vulnerability is real, and we need to be able to show that. And I think there's so many young athletes, young people that look up to these players and know that it's okay not to be okay, and that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to show that you're struggling, and that you can also be a winner in so many elements of life. And even though you're facing challenges, that doesn't diminish your strength, and even actually shows that you're even that much stronger.
A reminder, if you or someone you know is in need of help, there's a national hotline. That number is 988. College football season is quickly approaching, but on a recent Saturday, the Cal Bears paused for something much bigger than wins and losses. More than 40 players put on the first ever Golden Buddies football clinic geared towards 80 children with intellectual disabilities. I spoke to 2 players who spearheaded this effort.
Matthew, I want to start with you. You've been working with kids with special needs since high school. Tell me more about where this idea for Golden Buddies came from.
Yeah, definitely. So there was a program at my high school called Athletes for Kids, where it was specialized in getting high school athletes with kids with disabilities, trying different sports, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, soccer, getting them out to the field, run them through drills. Just the whole gamut. And so it was an awesome experience back in high school, just seeing how those kids reacted, and loved working with them. So when I was coming back for this final season of football, I knew I wanted to give it a shot at doing something like that, give back to the community, so that this community that has felt like home for 5 years now, I could do something for them. So being able to run this Golden Buddies camp or clinic was just an amazing opportunity to do that, give back, and work with these kids with disabilities, and make football a more inclusive sport.
Yeah, that's very cool. Miles, this is in your blood, man. Both your parents are adaptive PE teachers. What did it mean to you to see with your own eyes the joy from these kids running on that field?
Honestly, it's what's it called? It's always the same each time. It never, is any less dull than the last. It's great seeing the kids have genuine joy on their face and feel like they're really a part of something.
Matthew, you said it there. You want to make football more inclusive. How important is that message, not just on the gridiron, but across all sports and across all society?
Yeah, definitely. Sports is oftentimes an exclusive place where people with the skill, necessary skill set, are the only ones in that space. And it can be hard for newcomers to kind of enter that space and be able to play with those who have played for a long time, and especially people with disabilities who may not be able to play the sport the same way that someone who is able-bodied could. So just wanted to make football a place where everybody could experience what it's like to be on the field on Saturdays or Sundays.
More than 40 of your teammates came out on a Saturday to volunteer to be part of this program. What does that say about the culture of this football program?
I came in 2021, and I've only seen positive progress with the culture we're building and the kind of guys that we're recruiting into the program. And I think the event, the turnout that we had on Saturday is just evidence of that. And I'm really proud of our guys for showing out what they did.
It was really impressive to see all my teammates come out, especially some of the young guys who haven't been around as long, that really wanted to just dive in and help this community right away. It was really cool to see. And Saturday during the day for 3 hours for a bunch of college guys, you would think that they'd be having better things to do. But no, it was awesome to have all those guys show up. And not only did they show up, but they really poured into the kids, which was awesome. And you'll hopefully see some of the pictures. Our guys were dancing with them, throwing with them, doing water relays. So it was really cool just to have that experience. And I think not only does it help those kids and help them have a great time, but also kind of bonds us as a team, just to know that it's bigger than our success on the field, but it's about building a brotherhood.
There's some incredible athletes out here. And when you realize how paralyzed we are, I mean, a quarter of our bodies are useful.
Coming up, athletes who've overcome adversity and who are thriving in a special sport. We'll introduce you to wheelchair rugby after the break. July marks Disability Pride Month, a time to commemorate the passing of the landmark Americans with Disabilities Act and to acknowledge the barriers people with disabilities continue to face. For some in the community, sports is a way to heal and connect with others. I got a front row seat for a unique program commonly known as quad rugby. Growing up in Fremont, Sean Butterfield will tell you he was always outside, playing baseball, football, running, hiking, anything to stay active and to compete.
And that's what's most important to me is competing, training for something that I'm going to compete for. And so that makes a big deal to me, and it means everything.
After graduating from culinary school, he moved to Huntington Beach, where he lived in the water, surfing, swimming, bodyboarding. Then in 2015, a terrible accident.
I went to go, get back into the water to catch the next wave, and I jumped a little bit with too much of a pitch, and I came down on my head on a little bit of a mound of sand, and it snapped my neck.
Sean broke his neck, leaving him paralyzed in all 4 limbs. Over time, he regained some control of his arms and hands and refused to let his situation stop him. He was determined to get back to playing a sport.
People get hit pretty hard and fly, and end up on the ground, and so it kind of like jolts you awake, kind of makes you realize, okay, this is something that I can really be competitive in.
Enter wheelchair rugby, formerly quad rugby, because most players are quadriplegic. For the last 7 years, Sean's played on a team based in Berkeley that plays against teams all over the country.
It's everything. I'm really passionate about it. It's it's full circle for me.
Chris Cook discovered quad rugby 42 years ago. He was injured playing able-bodied rugby at UC Davis in 1980. He's won wheelchair rugby national championships, played for Team USA at the Paralympics, entered the Hall of Fame, and now he spends his time volunteering and coaching.
The more people we can get into this, it's a domino effect, and it affects so many lives in a positive way.
The sport combines elements of rugby, basketball, and handball. Athletes use specially made wheelchairs that are lighter, faster, and more durable. Wheelchair contact is permitted and, in fact, a major part of the game.
But mostly you're going to see really amazing athletes, and they're smiling. They're enjoying what they're doing.
And while the competition drives these athletes, that is only part of the joy this sport provides.
Instead of being around able bodies all day who are helping you with everything, you come out here and you see somebody do something on their own that, you're thinking like, oh, well, I'm similar to that person. Maybe I should be doing that on my own also.
Sports is inherently important, right? It's important to get active and stay healthy. But I think for many folks with disabilities, it's about so much more than that. I think for a lot of folks with disabilities, this is their community.
Wheelchair Rugby is one part of the Bay Area Outreach and Recreation Program, a nonprofit dedicated to providing sports and fitness programming for people with physical disabilities. It is their team of volunteers and donors who make scenes like this possible.
The more we spread the word and the more that folks realize how critical these opportunities are, the more we can expand these opportunities both in the East Bay and hopefully beyond.
For these men and women who love this unique sport and the camaraderie on the court, wheelchair rugby is empowering. For Sean, it gives him something he thought he lost.
It feels like I'm running through a field, it feels like I'm free, we glide like on these wheels really well, so it almost kind of feels like you're flying.
Do you have a story you'd like to see featured on Voices for Change? Send us an email at newstips@fox.com. We'd love to hear from you. That's our show for today. As always, thanks to our guests for these conversations and to our small team for making this happen. And of course, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Be good to each other.